And how is it that a Jewish prophet with a Jewish God came to have a large Gentile following? So this is what Acts is. Now Acts is an explanation that comes later. However, the rifts are clear when you read in Galatians that Paul has problems with Barnabas, the Jews, and Peter, who he confronted to his face, and he calls him Cephas.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not something which is surprising.
Issues there? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Well,
are you saying that the apostles disagreed with each other? Are you saying
no, I don't say that Paul is sorry.
Are you saying that they had a different teaching? That Paul had a different teaching to the rest of the apostles? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah,
all
sure.
You seem to be pointing out as an incident that happened.
No, you asked me, but you assume you said that you heard me last week.
Yeah.
So it's not me telling you, you're asking me, I'm answering you.
Yeah.
So we'll just make that one clear, yeah? So I was explaining to you about the disagreement because you asked me about that. Now in the larger scope of things, if I were to answer the questions you've just asked me, were there any differences between Paul and the disciples? Of course there were.
I thought that's what you were getting at in your last conversation.
Yes, it is. That's what I'm asking you. That is what has happened.
So that's what I'm asking you about. What are those differences?
So some of the differences is, if you see in Acts, in the meeting that James called Paul to, he said, I hear that you call the people to apostate from the laws of Moses.
Can you show me that?
Yeah, sure. Can you ask someone to show you while we speak? Has someone got internet?
Do you know where it
You
is?
should know this, though.
Right, you're making a claim, so I'm just trying to...
No, but I'm making a claim to a Christian. That's why. It's not like I'm making a claim to someone as well. You know the verse where Paul, James says to Peter that the people say or claim that you are causing the people to apostate from the laws of Moses. He'll bring it out. So that way it just keeps fluidity while we speak.
15 or Acts 21.
Yeah, so the point is, Paul, from our point of view, even the Christian point of view, never met Jesus in person. His was a vision on the road to Damascus, and his name was Saul, and he had been persecuting the original Jewish followers of Jewish followers of Jesus, who was called the Way. And this is his own testimony that he used to persecute the Way, the people of the Way. And the people of the Way were the disciples, because there was no other Christians at that time, or Jewish followers of Christianity. So he had been persecuting them. Now the disagreement which you're asking is, we don't believe Paul is an apostle. He says he is apostle. Now in Acts, when one of the apostles, Judas, he betrays Jesus, they have a meeting to choose the 12th apostle again. And Paul is alive, but they don't choose Paul to be that the apostle. You have to ask yourself as to why. If his apostleship was something which is verifiable, even though he didn't meet Jesus face to face, why is it then the other disciples did not choose him as the 12th disciple to replace Judas? Instead, who they chose? Do you remember who they chose? Matthias. Yeah. And there was a condition. There was about 3 conditions. Do you remember?
Go ahead.
The condition is one who had been with us from the beginning to the end, and there's another condition I forget.
What's that one?
For the choosing of to be apostle.
I can't remember.
Anyway, there was about 3. I mentioned 2 of the 3 boys. But clearly the disciples did not choose Paul to be an apostle either. Now, Paul, he comes and he says to the Roman Gentiles. Initially he was preaching to who? He was preaching to the Jews. But the Jews rejected Paul, so he went on taught to the Gentiles. Now he said, I appear to the Gentiles as someone who is a Gentile. His exact words were, the uncircumcised as an uncircumcised. And to those who are circumcised, I am like one who is under the law.
I don't want to lose track. You said
No
quite
problem.
a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Not everything that you said I agree with.
Sure.
I want to go back to that text in Acts chapter 21, where it seems to be the case that you're claiming that Paul and James disagreed.
Yeah, because if you
then we
see...
can talk about Paul's
so this is why I said yes.
Yeah, so where's your evidence?
So in this, you see that Paul, in his mission, he tells the Jews that they're not bound by the law. The law is a burden, it is a curse. If you know about the Pauline letters, you have read this throughout his letters, yeah?
You mentioned Acts 21, right? That's the scripture that you were looking for. Where's the disagreement between him and James?
I'm telling you. So
do you have the verse?
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that's some things that you know as a Christian. for the
Yeah,
flow.
yeah, yeah.
Because arguments aren't just like it's in just this one verse. No, it's
No,
in
but
collection.
I know what you're saying. I hear it. You're making a very important point, and I just want you
Just a bit
to establish
personal.
it with the scripture,
Yes.
right? So don't assume that I know everything that you're saying.
Yeah, sure. When
right?
you don't, you tell me. So what he'll do, he'll pull
what
it
I
out.
need to know is where you're getting this information from.
Acts 21, verse 17.
So can you read the sources that you're referring to?
Okay.
So Paul's arrival at Jerusalem.
Okay, when we arrived at Jerusalem, the brothers and sisters received us warmly. The next day, Paul and the rest of us went to see James, and all the elders were present. Paul greeted them and reported in detail what God had done among the Gentiles through his ministry. I'm on verse 20 now, yeah? When they heard this, they praised God. Then they said to Paul, you see, brother, how many thousands of Jews have believed? Yeah. And all of them zealous for the law. Meaning that he was teaching the law.
Okay.
Yeah? So that's the first evidence, yeah? They have informed that you teach all the Jews who lived amongst the Gentiles to turn away from Moses. Now the word in there is actually apostasy, if you check the Greek.
Okay.
Yeah? Gentiles to turn away from Moses, telling them not to circumcise their children. If you know what circumcision is, it's the covenant that makes the Jew have to keep all of the mitzvot, the 613 rules. Okay. So Paul is clearly here being told by James that we hear that this is what you're doing. And now when you read Paul's work, and you should know about this, is Paul tells the Jews that the law is a curse and they're no longer bound by the law.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah? So there's a difference. One believes... Yeah, sure.
Once you've made your point, let me respond to it. So you finished?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you exactly saying here then, just to make sure I completely understand? Are you saying that Paul was telling the Jews to forsake the law of Moses? Is that what you're saying, that this text teaches?
No, this is the claim I'm saying, yeah, because where did they dispute was your original question. So I'm showing you how James said that he had a problem with Paul because the people are saying that he forsook for the Jews told them to forsake the law of Moses. No, what he says here, if you read the rest of it, that in order to show that this is not true, you need to do the Nazareth
so it
vows.
Wasn't true then?
No, this is what he is saying if it's not.
So it wasn't true?
Hear me.
Be sincere with me.
No, I am, but if you listen to me, you get there, okay? If you read his chapters, he clearly tells the Jews that they don't need to follow the law.
Okay, we'll get to that after.
Yeah. Did you understand the connection?
I hear what you're saying, but let me respond to you by going through this text as well. So you read Acts 21 in verse 17, it says, when we arrived in Jerusalem, the brothers welcomed us joyfully. The next day, Paul went in with us to see James, and all the elders were present. Paul greeted them and recounted one by one the things that God had done among the Gentiles through his ministry. When they heard this, they glorified God. Then they said to Paul, you see, brother, how many thousands of Jews have believed, and all of them are zealous for the law. That's referring to the Jews specifically. But they are under the impression.
Hold the verse where Paul tells the Jews not to not to follow the law.
Is that in Ephesians?
Just type it in anyway.
Okay.
I'm listening to you. You're just reading. I know this verse here.
But they are under the impression that you teach all the Jews who live among the Gentiles to forsake Moses. Notice that it says that they are under the impression. It's not fact. They're just under the impression. Let me continue. Not to observe circumcise their children or to observe the customs. What then shall we do? They will certainly hear that you have come. Therefore, do what we advise you. There are 4 men with us who have taken a vow. Take these men, purify yourselves along with them, and pay their expenses so they can have their heads shaved. Then everyone will know that there is no truth to these rumors about you, but that you also live in obedience to the law.
Okay, so he follows the law.
Okay, hear me now. Let me make my point.
Okay, go on. You have not, yes.
So clearly here, James and the rest of the elders that he was with didn't believe in these rumors. That's why he told him to take this vow to show that there is no truth to these rumors. No, it says it here.
No, it says they want.
Okay, I'm gonna read it again. Let me say this.
You can read it again.
You said quite a bit. Let me respond to it. It says here, Take these men, purify yourself along with them, and pay their expenses, so they can have their heads shaved. Then everyone will know there is no truth. No, listen.
No.
Stop cherry picking
Timothy,
verses.
no.
Bro,
You picked that verse, not me. Timothy.
Bro, when you read
look.
Bro, when you did
Okay,
the
go on, finish what you want to say.
Bro,
Go on.
when
See
you
what
did the reading, you conveniently missed out one of the most important verses.
Okay, what was it?
This verse 24.
No, I never.
Yes,
I never
yes.
was it. No.
By the way, there's more. By the way. There's a lot more I can add to this.
No.
Let me just make the point.
You haven't made any point. Right now you made an accusation which isn't true. Because I made clear, I answered your question where they disputed. Now I'm telling you that they disputed. One says to follow the law, and that's why he made him do the Nazareth vow. Now you're saying, oh, I didn't tell the people there. The camera, no, listen, the camera is clear. They know exactly what I said. Now I said in the works of Paul, yeah, he makes it clear that he is not under the law. But these people are pulling him to show him that he must be under the law.
Okay.
So that is a dispute.
We need to clarify something then.
So deal with my argument. Don't strawman me and say, oh, like this.
No. I'm not strawmanning you. I'm trying to make sure that
It doesn't sound like you're trying to understand.
No, seriously.
Yeah, really? Okay. Which part didn't you understand? Explain to me.
So when you're referring to Acts 21, right, this particular passage, you're making it out like Paul was doing something that James wasn't doing. Is that correct?
No, that's not what I said.
So
Where
are
did
you
you get that
okay,
from?
so are you
I
saying,
said, I'll
so-
explain
so-
because
okay,
you clearly didn't
so-
get that
okay,
right.
so let me
Timothy,
make-
let me
let me
explain.
make it clear. Let me
Well,
say-
no,
let me
you
say it a
can't.
different way.
If you're saying, okay, go on.
Let me say it in a different way.
Okay.
Are you saying to me then?
What don't you get about it, Timothy?
I wanna make
I'm
it
saying
simple.
in clean, you're
This
trying
is
to
breaking
reward
down.
what
I
I'm
wanna make
saying.
it clear. I just wanna
But
make it simple.
what I'm saying is very clear. Paul says he is not under the law. James says, Paul, you must be under the law.
Okay, so
and then
according-
this
so
shows
according to
him
this
that
passage-
he was under the law
Okay,
because of James.
according to this passage, what these men, these Jews, were accusing Paul of, did James believe it? Yes or no?
We're not told if he believes it or not.
Bro,
This,
you are told. Hamza.
No,
It's Hamza, right?
Timothy, yeah, Timothy.
You are
no, you're
you're
reading
okay,
into it.
okay,
No,
read it, let's- okay.
no. One
Let's read
second.
it.
Read where it says that he
So
believes
I've
it.
understood your position there.
Yeah, so read
I've
this.
understood
Yeah,
your
go on,
position
go on,
there.
read
If
this.
I'm
Go
able
on.
to make that
Give us
point,
the
I've
verse.
understood your position.
Give us the verse.
Verse 24.
No,
The verse
where it
24.
says that James
Let me
believes it.
read the text, man.
Look, you speak
Hamza.
and I'm responding. Timothy, you speak, I'm responding.
Hamza, let me read the
No,
text, man. This is
you
difficult,
speak.
bro.
I'm asking you to read.
Okay.
Now, take it easy. Take it
Let me
easy.
read.
Okay, look, Timothy, 1 second. Let me also speak where you don't speak over me.
All right.
Do you
You
understand?
speak and I'll respond to you.
No. You can. I'm asking you now. You believe in something, a positive position. That is that Paul is believed by James not to be free from the law. Show me that verse.
Paul is believed by James
Not to be under the law.
What I'm showing you is this. This is what's in dispute in Acts 21. The Jews were under the impression that Paul was going around teaching the Jews to forsake the law of
That's
Moses.
right. That's what I said.
James didn't believe that.
It doesn't say that.
I'll explain then. Let me explain.
Show me.
Yeah, verse 24.
That's what we said.
Verse 23 actually, 24. Therefore, do what we advise you. There are 4 men with us who have taken a vow. Take these men, purify yourself along with them, and pay their expenses, so they can have their heads shaved. Let me
I haven't stopped you, go on.
Yeah, because come up to my
Go
part.
on.
Then everyone will
Everyone,
know.
yes, everyone. Everyone.
Don't interrupt him.
Everyone, go on.
He's trying to change what the verse
Oh,
says.
okay, I'm trying to change.
Let me say what I'm saying without interruption. I'll read it again from verse 23-24. Therefore, do what we advise. There are 4 men with us who have taken a vow. Take these men, purify yourself along with them, and pay their expenses, so they can have their heads shaved. Then everyone will know there is no truth to these rumors. They were rumors. There's no truth to it about you, but that you also live in obedience to the law. So James clearly understood. Hamza, James,
Of course I'm listening.
He's listening.
James clearly understood that there were no truth to these accusations and to these rumors. And this can be backed up in Acts chapter 15. In Acts chapter 15, we have the first council of Jerusalem, where there was a dispute about the Gentile believers. Should they be circumcised under the law of Moses, and should they start following the law? The apostles agreed that they were not under such obligations. However, that didn't apply to the Jews.
Sounds like you're preaching.
I'm making the point.
It sounds preaching.
Because
It doesn't sound like you're making a point.
Okay, let me just get on with it.
Yeah, but I'm not here to preach. Go on, say your point, and then I can jump in, innit?
Exactly. It wasn't applied to the Jews. So the Jews continued circumcision. They continued to observe the law of Moses. No Jewish apostle was going around telling the people to forsake the law of Moses. It's just that the Gentiles...
Did you get that verse where it says to the Jews to forsake the law?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Now, by no means am I saying that there is salvation by following the law. I'm not saying it. But the point that I need to stress is that there were different offices that needed to be tended to. That's why the apostles in Galatians chapter 2, I'll make this last point, right, it says in Galatians chapter 2 that some went to the Jews and some went to the Gentiles. There were two different ministries, and they both had two different needs.
Okay, thank you very much, okay? This was a simple point, okay? So James is calling Paul for clarification. This is why I said. It does not say that he had a position. You're telling me he does have a position. You spend so long, but you could not show that he has a position. He said that everyone will know. That's clarification. That everyone know what? Exactly, that you follow the law. Stop. He would know that everyone will know that you, Paul, follow the law, and there's nothing to these rumors. So he was seeking clarification. And if that was enough, because you have to stop, because you were preaching, I didn't stop you, yeah? So then it goes on, if he read the verse to the verse, and unfortunately, because I like to just say things and then it's easy because I assume the speaker knows what's being said. If you read the rest of Acts, what happened to Paul?
With the trial.
Prior to him, I'm not asking for anything else. Don't hijack what I'm saying. My question is specific. Okay, my question was specific. What happened to him afterwards? That was my question.
Make your point. Yeah.
Okay, he doesn't want to. Yes,
He was arrested in the temple.
So he was arrested in the temple, and he was mobbed by the Jews because they did not believe him. And even in his own words, he says, to those who are uncircumcised, I pretend to be one who is uncircumcised. To those who are circumcised, I pretend to be who is circumcised. Unfortunately, Timothy doesn't know. He also says, if by my lie the truth is abounded, then why do you judge me as the sinner? Meaning that he's okay doing this double act. He's all right to act as a Christian here or a Gentile Christian, and he's all right to act as a Jew. Unfortunately, because you don't know Timothy, these verses, it's hard for you to understand.
Now you're patronizing.
No,
I'm aware of these things.
So wait, I haven't finished. Yeah? So anyone who knows the Bible, has read the works of Paul, understands that Paul was against the law. He calls it a curse that Jesus died for. And once Jesus died, he believed that curse of the law was no longer existent. But because you don't understand the theology of Paul, you're here arguing with me that Paul does believe the law. He does not believe the law, and this is the theology of Paul, that Jesus died, any man who is hung on a tree dies as a curse. And when Paul reads the Old Testament, he sees that the law, he says the law is a curse because anyone who breaks a single... No, I'm not. I'm giving information. You wasn't. You were just preaching. So this is the theology of Paul. Paul believes that the law was a curse and Jesus died as a curse. So the law died along with Jesus. Go on, come back from that. Let's see how you respond to that.
A lot of things, right? And
No,
I want everything that you say to back it up with scripture, because I've already been able to show that when you made reference to Acts 21, you misquoted the text.
No, I didn't. I said clarification.
You misquoted the text.
I didn't.
Now I'm gonna move on and respond to some of the things that you said.
Stick to the first one. Don't move on.
After this, Paul went to trial. Right? What did he go to trial for? For this very thing. And he used this evidence of him taking the Nazarene vow or the purification vow as him being someone who didn't teach the Jews to forsake Moses. None of the apostles taught the Jews to forsake Moses. In fact, it was through the teachings of Moses, through the law and the prophets, that the Jews would come to know who the Messiah is. He wasn't teaching that, and he hasn't been able to prove that. The letters that he's referring to are the letters that were written to the Gentiles. For example, the book of Galatians. Galatians chapter 3 says, "O foolish Gentiles, who has bewitched you? After starting by means of the faith, we try to, by means of faith or by the Spirit, we try to end in the flesh." He was talking to a Gentile church. He doesn't even know this stuff. He's ignorant of it. So he's looking at Gentile letters and saying that this applies to Jews. It didn't. If he was smart enough to read Galatians chapter 2 and understand it properly, he would have known that there were certain apostles who went to the Jews and certain apostles who went to the Gentiles. And sometimes they were overlapped. And this is what Apostle Paul was actually rebuking Peter for in Galatians chapter 2, because he wasn't walking in line with the truth of the gospel, because he was distancing himself from the Gentiles when certain Jews came. It was a wrong thing that he did, and that was dealt with. However, this is the main point. Paul wasn't going around telling anybody to forsake the law of Moses that was a Jew. It wasn't happening. James understood this. That's why he said that there is no truth to this. If you believe Paul was telling people to forsake the law of Moses, he wouldn't have said the things that he said in Acts chapter 21. Remember, Paul went on trial for this. And if we read further down the line, we see more accusations coming. For example, I'll show you here.
You're not dealing with the points I made.
I'm making the point. I'm dealing
You're
with
not dealing with the points.
I am.
Okay, go. I'm waiting.
Give me some time, man.
I have given you time. I'm waiting for you.
Well, if you're listening.
Go on.
Okay, so what's the specific point that you want me to deal with?
If Paul's theology is no, I'll say that. I'll say it again.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say it again. Yeah, you're
Okay.
saying I didn't know. I made it very clear when I
that
spoke.
I was addressing.
You asked me, so you want
yeah,
me
but
to
let me
answer?
make this clear.
Okay, just land with your point then. Go on.
Okay, the point that I was addressing was this: that you were trying to show disparity between James and Paul, right? You said many things. You were trying to show that Paul is not even a credible apostle. You were trying to say that.
Yes.
Also, there's many things to address.
So
you said a lot, but I'm
them.
addressing one thing at a time.
I'm
and then
waiting,
after this
I'm waiting.
conversation, I would like to ask you some questions about Islam.
Yeah, sure. But
So now I hope you can address some of my
let's do a proper debate then. Let's do a
We've
proper
already
debate.
started. We've already started.
No, you asked me the question, not me ask you questions.
we already
No, this
started.
is the question you asked me.
No, we already started. Hamza.
Listen to me.
We've
You
already,
answer my
he's
question.
panicking. He knows I want to talk to him about
See,
Islam.
he's
You're the
showboating.
one asking questions
He's
all day. You've been the one
showboating. No. Who asked the question? I'm more than happy.
Question, you're
I'm more
panicking.
than happy, my friend. I'm more than happy.
Okay,
Do you hear
can
me?
I-
Do you know what panicking is? Do you know what panicking is? I said I'm more than happy.
Hamza,
I'm going to choose my topic.
I was able to have a nice conversation with Rayhan and Hussein just before. Come in, right?
Oh, this is not nice. You feel
It's
this?
not as pleasant. No.
Okay, that's
I'll tell
your
you why.
point. I'm
Let me
having a
tell you why.
pleasant
Let me
conversation.
tell you why.
I'm having a pleasant
Let me tell
conversation.
you why, right?
Why do you feel
Let me
unpleasant?
tell you why.
Why do you feel unpleasant? Bro?
Let me explain.
No, tell us,
Let me
innit?
tell you why.
Tell us. Either you feel intimidated or something.
course not.
So why do you feel
Why would I
unpleasant?
feel intimidated?
Go on. So why do you feel you feel unpleasant? So why do you feel
It's a bit
unpleasant?
childish now. All right, let's do this. Let's do a debate
Okay,
format.
let's do the debate for more.
1
Two
minute.
topics. You have a
1
topic.
minute.
I have
Yeah.
a topic. Yeah.
All right. What's the
Yeah?
first topic?
Okay.
This topic, we already started.
No, you chose this topic.
I know.
No,
So,
I asked you about something.
You asked me yes.
hold
Now
on.
let me choose my topic. Why are you scared?
Hamza.
Why are you scared?
Hamza, I'm not scared.
So let you
But-
choose your
but you're
topic.
scared because
I'm
you're
choose. No,
scared.
I said you
are
choose
scared.
your topic.
You are scared. Let me
Does
tell
he
why.
understand?
I
You choose your
understand what you're saying.
topic.
wait, one second, Hamza. Let me come in. Let me.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
your content.
No, he has a
The
choice.
very moment he said he would ask you questions.
What's
he has
happening
a
in this
topic.
discussion? Let me
I
tell
have
you
a
what's
topic.
happening in
You
this
understand?
But you're the one who has been asking him questions
No,
all day.
no,
You've
what
been
happened?
talking
It's
about
been
the
a
Bible.
discussion.
Actually, he's
No
making the
answer.
point. Let me
No
listen to
answer.
what he said.
Time Andre. Let's do this.
Hamza, he's made it very clear.
Let's make it fair. Let's make it
He's
fair
a Christian.
here.
He's
There's going to be.
supporting you, of course. You
No,
know,
wait.
You asked
One
me
second.
the question.
1 second.
And I've been asking
let me tell you
questions.
something.
And
You've
you've
been
been
asking me
no,
questions
no. You
about
asked me questions.
apostle-
1 second. You asked me questions,
Say
yeah,
what you say,
and
what you
I
say.
answered questions, yeah. That's not my topic of debate. I'm happy to debate
yeah.
your topic, but you also have to debate me on
Yeah,
my
yeah,
topic.
that's fair,
That
that's
sounds
fair.
fair. You
That
answered
sounds fair.
questions just now,
Let me-
and
let me-
I
let me-
answered
let me-
questions
let
right
me-
now.
Let me respond to what you're saying.
Yeah,
But
that's
if you
what
don't
I'm
want it, that's
trying
fine.
to-
Let's choose
trying to
your
get
your
at.
quick topic, no
What you're
problem.
saying, right? This is what I'm saying. Last week you were talking to Christians about Paul.
Yes.
about him being an apostle?
Not an apostle.
No, it's on the video.
He's not apostle.
Yeah, about him not being an apostle.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
Because he wasn't there when.
1 second.
Sorry, brother, 1 second. About disparity between him and James.
Yes.
And you were trying to show that he had a different teaching to James than the rest of the apostles.
Yes.
You even brought up the Ebionites.
That's right.
Something that you haven't brought up today.
I can
So I
ignore
said, if you want to, right? So I'm listening to what you're saying. I asked you, okay, I would like to talk to you about these things. Right?
you
so
chose
you can,
it, yeah.
Yes, you can challenge me on my beliefs. You're challenging me on my beliefs.
We're talking,
I don't know.
this is a topic you
yeah, but hear
chose.
what I'm saying. You're challenging me on my beliefs.
You're challenging me on my beliefs,
No, I'm
on
still
this.
in a defensive position.
You're-
This is the point you're not getting. I'm in a defensive
Okay, you know what? I'll be
position.
charitable. Choose whatever topic
Okay,
you want. Let's
fine.
choose
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
topic
I'm-
you
I'm-
And
want.
then once that's done,
Yeah.
he also has the chance to also.
He
choose a
doesn't
topic.
want to. He wants you only
No,
to
no, no,
be.
he's happy,
He
he's
only
happy.
wants to be
He's happy.
attacking because he can't defend. It's fine. I'll
No,
choose
no,
it.
no, no, it's okay, Hamza. No, don't do that. Both of you don't do that. Come
You're
on, let's have a nice
childish. Don't say I'm
conversation.
childish. You're childish. No, you are childish.
No,
You
that's
feel
being childish. Both of you are
uncomfortable.
being childish.
I haven't called you childish. You said you're uncomfortable.
Come on.
I'm saying, look, is it fair? Look. So, look, is there
Let's
anyone
be
who's
fair.
not
Let's be
Christian?
both of you.
Look,
Both of you.
Yeah.
I'm not uncomfortable.
day.
What am I worried
No,
about?
he's
attending to you.
Did you hear what I said? What did I say?
Hold on.
What did I
He's been
say?
very fair to you.
No, you've been biased towards him.
No,
You've
no,
not
no,
been
no,
fair.
no, no, both of them.
I said very clearly, I'm happy to take one topic. If he does not want to, that's fine. I'll take his topic. What's so hard about that? Is that difficult? Yeah, but he won't. I don't know. I've said it, but is that unfair?
Okay.
If I say to him he can have his topic,
No.
what's
I said-
unfair about
I
that?
said let's reset. Let's reset the debate. And what Timothy wants to debate is about your conclusion regarding James and Paul. So that's the first debate. Once that's done, you have the chance to select a debate that he is willing to agree.
No, but
You okay with that?
For 40 minutes you've been talking about the Bible. Change.
Okay, why do we make?
That's what I mean.
All right, let's make.
I've been in a defensive position for God knows how long.
No, I've
He's
been
made
defending my
points.
position.
He's made.
No, he's making a positive claim.
He's making.
So he's on the back foot. You're not.
No, I'm on the back foot.
No,
you
he's
are
on the back foot.
He's
You
making
say
a claim
to show.
against
You
my-
say to show.
against my
No,
religion.
you
No,
say
but
to
you're putting him
show
on the
where
back foot.
James and Paul had a
Yes.
dispute. I showed you. I showed you from here.
Position,
Exactly.
so he's on the back foot.
Yeah, but I'm defending
Yeah.
my position. That's why I'm defending my position.
Yeah, but Timothy.
He's looking at my.
You're
No,
making a
let's
claim.
no
But
fine.
Vince,
Look,
Timothy
are you scared to
initiated
hold
the
a
motion of the
position?
debate.
You're making.
I'm
Therefore,
saying
he-
I will let you
Timothy
choose.
was the one who
Yes,
initiated
but
the motion.
I would like it. I would like
It's not Hamza, he didn't
you
bring
to
it.
also
He did.
to take a topic.
You
Just
see,
look
this
it
is the
up.
point. So he brought up the debate. Let's debate about James and Paul. So he's on the back foot, not Timothy.
It doesn't matter. You can have your stop moaning. Just bloody talk about the
Let's do it.
discussion,
Let's
guys.
do it.
You can't be on the back foot, yeah?
Oh, please. Next topic, go on.
Bro, let me just speak. This is the thing. Hamza,
Are you timing this? Time this.
Yeah,
Yeah. Better. No. Don't say no. Time it.
Okay.
Hamza,
No.
Hamza.
It's a time debate. What's why you scared for? You got the topic now. Now we time it.
I'm
That's
not
it.
scared.
So do the debate.
Nobody's scared. Nobody's scared.
Okay.
Don't worry. Nobody's
Can I be
scared.
quiet for 1 second?
What did you say that?
Exactly.
So when you say, can you tell him to be quiet? That's not provoking people. Exactly. Yeah.
I'll be fair. But
Okay,
you weren't
wait, 1
listening,
second.
so I have to tell your brother.
No, but you're saying you want to debate. I've agreed to it. Now I say, stop speaking about the old stuff. Time it so you don't waste your
2 minutes each?
time. Go on. Yeah, 2 minutes. Let's go.
Okay, wait. First of all, what's the debate?
I want to
I
finish
don't
this
even know.
topic. I want to finish this topic.
Oh, and then you want to move on.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead.
Right? I want to conclude on this.
No problem,
He
no
made-
problem,
he
no
made-
problem.
It's Allah's spirit.
It's all right.
Go.
Timothy.
Go.
Go ahead. Just ignore it.
Right. So you said many things about Paul. I was doing my best to address each point. It takes time.
Take your time. Take your time.
Hamza, don't ignore it. Just let him say it and then you move on to the next topic.
Go.
Let's agree to disagree. That's it. Let's go. I'm not timing it.
Many things that you said about Paul, and I'm trying to clear it up.
The apostle, yeah.
Right, the Apostle Paul, and I'm trying to clear it up. Each thing that you said, bit by bit, right? So I mentioned in the book of Acts, chapter 21, right, that James didn't believe that Paul was teaching the Jews to forsake Moses. That's clear in the text. I read that in verses 22, I believe, to 24. Paul also went on trial for this, and he used the Nazarene vow as evidence to say that he hadn't been doing what the Jews were accusing him of, right? if you go back to Acts 15, the point that I was trying to make before is that you have a dispute among the Jews that come from the sect of the Pharisees, right? And they're saying that the Gentiles need to be circumcised and follow the law of Moses. The apostles at the first council of Jerusalem, which you cited already, so you know it, disagreed and said that they shouldn't be put under the yoke that neither them nor their forefathers could bear. It didn't mean that the Jews didn't have that yoke. And that's the difference that you're not spotting. There was a different way or different ministry for the Gentiles than there was for the Jews. So the Jews weren't told to forsake Moses, but the Gentiles weren't required to follow the law. That's the thing that you're not getting. And when now talking about the book of Galatians, which you referred to a few times at the beginning, like I said before, that was a book that was written to a Gentile audience. They were not Jewish. So when it says, "Oh, foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you?"
Okay, 30 seconds. And then we're going to move on to the next topic. Yeah.
When it says,
No, let's finish this one and then thing.
So
But you
let's
have to
have a
learn.
time
You have
debate
to.
then.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you get
I'm
lost.
responding.
So this is the conclusion.
Yeah.
All right. No, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
if you talk, remember in your opening, you spoke a lot. So I'm giving you, I'm responding back.
But it would be nice to, like I said, if we could keep it to,
All right,
you know what I mean? No, I don't want to cut you. Go on.
Let me say my final point.
Please.
So in the book of Galatians, for example, in chapter 3, it says, "O foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you?" You started off by the Spirit, but you try to end by means of the flesh. It's because the Jews were going up to them, telling them that they should be following the law of Moses, something that they weren't told to do. It went against the teachings of the apostles. So it's not that Paul was going to Jews saying, "Forsake Moses." Never did it. And we also see that in the book of Acts, last point, chapter 21, where it says that they were under the impression, I paraphrase, because a Gentile had walked into the temple, which was forbidden, and it was a Gentile that Paul was seen with, so they thought it was him who was responsible for that. But he also denied that. He said it wasn't him. So these were accusations from Jews who disliked Paul, disliked his ministry, claiming that he was going around telling the Jews to forsake Moses when he didn't. And that's my
Thank
point.
you very much. Okay, Timothy, if you had listened to what I had said, I say Paul first initially went to the Jews, and then afterwards he went to the Gentiles. I also mentioned, so I'm aware of this, that the law he was talking about to the Gentiles was different to the law to the Jews. That's not what I had said. The argument was from Acts, when James says to Paul that the people are saying that this is the accusation, that the accusation was seen to be, it needed to be clarified, so they asked him to do the Nazareth vows. It wasn't something he was willing to do. Paul himself says, "I am not under the law." Paul himself, he equates the law to be a curse. Paul himself, under his theology, believes that Jesus died as a curse, and thus the law died with it. So he believes that no one lives underneath the law. What happens if you listen, because you actually straw man some of my points here, in the Council of Jerusalem, they were told to do the Noahide laws, or what they call the Noahide laws, the laws for the Gentiles. So there were 4 laws that they were told. So I'm aware of this. But maybe you didn't pick up the actual argument that I was making. The argument was from Acts. The people make the accusation that you, Paul, are calling the people or the Jews into leaving the law, or what he says was apostasy to the law of Moses. But this doesn't stop. After the Jerusalem Council, where they agreed 4 things, the first and probably the most important one was that the Gentiles, they should not eat meat which is sacrificed to idols. You could check this if you want to double check this stuff. And the reason was this, so that the Jews could sit along with the Gentiles in table fellowship. But then immediately what happens, men from James were sent. This is what it says. Why is James sending men in the first place? And then what is, Cephas stood up when he was eating along with Paul, the Gentiles and the Jews. Cephas stood up. Why is Cephas standing up? Why are the Jews also standing up? Why is Barnabas also standing up? So it seems that all of the Jews stood up because they knew that Paul was breaking the agreement. The agreement was that they should not eat the meat which is slaughtered for idolatry. If this is not the case, then there's no reason for Cephas to stand up. There's no reason for Barnabas to stand up. There's no reason for the Jews to stand up. You have to explain why after the Council of Jerusalem in the year 60, when the 4 Noahide laws was mandated by the Jamesian decree, why is it that Paul is still not following these laws? And then he says, I stood to Cephas in his face. I stood to Cephas in his face and called out his hypocrisy. Anyway, so the original debate, it goes back to what I'd said, that he was being accused by the Jews, that he was calling the Jews away from the laws of Moses. And what would happen is the theology of Paul again is that Jesus died as a curse, and the law is a curse. And then when Jesus died, the law dies along with him. This is his idea of justification. Thank you very much.
Well, you said quite a lot. I'm going to try my best to respond to some of the things you say.
How long did that take roughly?
I didn't even time it.
So,
You lot are well behaved now.
Grown up.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from Galatians chapter 2, from the scripture that you've been quoting here and there. It says here from verse 11, when Cephas came to Antioch, however, I opposed him to his face, because he stood condemned. For before certain men came from James, he used to eat with the Gentiles. But when they arrived, he began to draw back and separate himself, for fear of those in the circumcision group. The other Jews joined him in his hypocrisy, so that by their hypocrisy even Barnabas was led astray. When I saw that they were not walking in line with the truth of the gospel, I said to Cephas in front of them all, if you are a Jew, if you who are a Jew live like a Gentile and not like a Jew, how can you compel the Gentiles to live like Jews? I don't know why you're doing that, it's not supporting your point. We who are Jews by birth and not Gentile sinners know that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by faith in Jesus Christ, which the apostles actually affirmed in the council, the first council of Jerusalem in Acts chapter 15. So we too have believed in Jesus Christ, that we may be justified by faith in Christ and not by the works of the law, because by the works of the law no one will be justified. So what was going on here? Peter withdrew himself when certain Jews came, and he separated himself from eating with the Gentiles. It doesn't specify for the reasons that this man has said. It doesn't specify that at all. Not at all, not within this particular context. We find in Acts chapter 11, in Acts chapter 10, when Peter went to Cornelius' house, that some people took issue with that. They questioned it. They were like, oh, is it right to eat with Gentiles? These were things that were accustomed to Jews at the time. Doesn't necessarily say that it was taught in the law of Moses to not eat with a Gentile. That we have to be clear on. But it was something that they understood, because there was a chance that the food could have been sacrificed to idols. There was a chance of that. So what they were doing at the time is that they wouldn't eat with Gentiles, but it wasn't, to my knowledge, a specific law in the law of Moses where they weren't allowed to eat with Gentiles. It was one of those traditions. And it was something that Peter was doing, and it was regarded as not walking in line with the truth of the gospel. So what you're saying about the Jews and the Gentiles and how Paul was in the wrong, no, he was calling out Peter's hypocrisy. Now don't get me wrong, just because Peter made a mistake, it doesn't invalidate him being an apostle. We have that's not the case in Christianity. But the main point is this, and this is the main point, that the disagreement here is not a disagreement as to say that one had one way of doing one thing and one had another way. It was a correction, it was a rebuke, it was an admonishment for Peter to do things the right way. That's all it was. So what you're saying, it doesn't apply to this text. You're adding in so much more. You're picking and plucking. This is what Paul says about the law here and there. And you're mixing it all together, and you're trying to make something that's not there in the text. They weren't in disagreement with each other. In fact, they continued to do what they needed to do. Apostle Peter continued to minister to the Jews. Paul and Barnabas continued to minister to the Gentiles, and they continued. I don't see the issue.
Sure. Okay, so the incident is called the incident in Antioch. Now, if you just read anything about it, you will see it's a disagreement. So it's not something you need to argue
Where
about.
are you getting that from?
It's called the incident
Yeah,
of
but
it.
where you getting
You can check it anyway. You can check it. You've got the resources available.
No, but I'm asking you for
But
your
let me
sources.
speak because in the same way that you spoke, I think, yeah, if that's okay, yeah?
You need to make your claims with sources.
Yeah, same as you as well.
But I just did that.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, let me speak now if that's all right, yeah? Is that, all right? Is that okay?
Let's not make
Yeah?
it.
Is that okay?
It's okay, but you.
I'm telling you the verses and then you're finding them. So it's clear that I'm not lying.
No,
So,
in this- no,
but you
not
have to
all-
let me
not in
speak
all
in a...
occasions.
You know what it is, yeah?
Just let him speak. Go on.
Yeah, is that okay? Is that okay? Okay.
let the readers
So
say.
the verse, so all he done literally was read what I just told him. Exactly as I told him. Men were sent for James. Now the thinking mind would immediately ask, why is James sending men? The Cephas stood up. Barnabas stood up. The Jews stood up. I'm repeating myself because he just read literally what I said. He's just confirming it. And I thank you for that. All of them stood up because men from James had come. Who was James? He was the head of the church, by the way. There was 3 pillars. James is the head of it. He's the one that gives the decree at the Council of Jerusalem, and he held the highest authority, yes. And that's why it's called the Jamesian Creed. Many Christians don't know that, yeah. But he's the one who issues this. And immediately after, he sends men. And then they find Paul eating with the Gentiles, and thus these 3, Barnabas and Cephas, and the rest of the Jews stand up. And then Paul calls him a hypocrite to his face. We don't hear the other side of the story, because this is coming from the story of Galatians, which is written by Paul. So we don't actually know what's being said. Yeah? And you can say Acts, but Acts comes much later. Yeah. But so we see there's a disagreement. He calls him to a hypocrite to his face. Now Timothy is trying to tell me it's not a disagreement. So why is he calling him a hypocrite to him to his face? It's a disagreement. Why is James sending men? It's a disagreement. Why is the Jews standing up? It's a disagreement. Why is Barnabas standing up? It's a disagreement. But he wants to say, no, there was no disagreement. They were harmonious. They're all together. They're all walking in the same way. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Yeah, go for
You're
it.
saying that it's a disagreement, but you also admitted that you didn't have the other side. So you're inferring things without evidence. You literally say you don't have the other side.
I just gave
You're not
evidence.
taking Paul's words.
I did.
Paul was saying that they weren't walking in line with the truth of the gospel.
There you go.
And then he corrected him.
There you go.
Right, so it was an
So it's a
admonishment.
disagreement.
An admonishment.
Oh, so do
A
you admonish
rebuke.
people that agree with you? Yes
No,
or no?
obviously you disagree.
Okay, thank you. Thank
no,
you.
but this-
Okay. Let's
No, but Hamza, let me say this.
Oh,
We're
go
not
on,
gonna
I'll let you have
end-
the last
Sorry,
one.
we're not
I'll
going
let
to end this debate.
Last point.
And then we're going to move on.
Last point. When you say a disagreement, the way you're portraying it is if they had a disagreement and they both continued in that disagreement. That's how you're portraying it.
We don't know.
No,
we don't
we
know.
do know.
Where do we know?
It literally says it in here.
No, it
that they
doesn't.
weren't walking in line with the truth of the gospel, so he confronted them in
And-
front of everybody.
And what happened afterwards?
And he said that
No,
even
no, just speak
Barnabas,
to me, don't
he
please.
said that
Hamza.
even Barnabas was led astray. Barnabas was someone he was working with close by. You already admitted by your own admission.
You just said they disagreed.
Hold on,
Hamza,
hold on,
Hamza,
hold on,
don't
Hamza, now you're
don't
panicking.
interject. Come on.
Oh, panicking,
You already said,
yeah.
you
You'll have
already
your
said-
turn, don't worry, go on.
Exactly.
Go on.
You already said that you don't have the other side. That's what you said. So everything that you're saying about the situation, that's not in the text. You're inferring from your own knowledge.
Okay.
You're not getting it from anywhere. I'm actually staying consistent to the text. I'm saying that this was a rebuke, this was an admonishment, this was a correction for Peter to walk in line with the truth of the gospel. That's what I'm saying.
Let me know when you're finished.
I'm finished.
Can we change?
Okay, last one more, last one. Again,
round.
you're just you're saying all this. I'm panicking. I don't know if you know what panicking is, but believe me, this is anything but panicking. You're saying I'm not quoting. We're using the same text I quoted. They sent men from James. Cephas stood up. Barnabas
Why
stood
did they
up.
send men
And
from
then
James?
you said,
Why did
you
they
said, one
why did they
second.
send men from James?
He'll answer.
Why did they say
Timothy,
men from James?
Timothy.
Explain that to
It's
me.
his turn now. It's his turn.
You're saying,
Let's go to the Quran. Let's go to the Quran. We've been talking about the Bible all day.
Let's finish.
You're saying, yeah, that I'm not using the Bible. I'm using the Bible. I'm telling you, you don't have the other source, which is what actually happened from the other point of view. But you're using what Paul has written, it's clear. It's clear. Men was sent. He called Cephas a hypocrite. You said he corrected him. People don't admonish, as you said, of correct people that agree with them. You afterwards said, yes, he does disagree. Then that's it. The debate ends. You admitted it. All of that for what reason? Did they agree or did he disagree?
When you're rebuking someone or correcting someone, there is a disagreement first.
Thank you.
The point that I was
That's
making
what
is
the
this.
point I
The point
made.
that I was making is this: is that you're portraying it as if they continued in that disagreement. That's the problem.
Okay.
That's the problem. You've made many points about men coming from James. Why? What does that mean?
Okay,
Where are you getting that information
Okay.
from?
Okay.
It says that men came from James, but what you're attributing it to, or to what
Why
it
did he
means,
send it? Tell me.
you,
Why?
no,
Why?
you're making the claim.
No, I'm asking you why.
You're making the claim. You're making a
Why-
claim.
why did
no, let me know.
James
This is
send
my
men?
question. This is my question to you. Don't try
Okay,
to.
now, okay, you're
This is
asking
my
a question
question to you.
You have to let me
According to this text, why did James? Why are you making an issue about James sending
Okay,
men?
so now this is your question to me.
Yes,
Yeah,
you made the point.
Okay, great. So this is a logical inferral. If you just had a council, hey, I'm good, thank you, how are you? If you just had a council and you passed a decree and then you send men to the very person that's supposed to uphold that decree, why is he sending men? To check that he's implementing the decree. And what happens? Clearly, the other Jews, Barnabas and Cephas, all stood up indicating that they weren't following the decree. And he calls him a hypocrite to his face. This is all from the text. This is all from the text. Yes, this part of it, which I'm explaining to you, when James sent men, is an indication that he was enforcing the decree that he sent. So, yeah, again, you're disagreeing with me, but you're saying no. And then you quote the verses that I'm saying, and you're saying, yes, he did disagree,
okay.
and then you're telling him he
Are you
rebuked
telling
him.
me this then, that there was a decree?
Yes, there was a
Yeah.
There
decree.
was a decree that they had all agreed upon.
Yes.
And some of them weren't acting according to the decree.
Yes.
So then you're actually validating Paul then.
Okay, let's hear this logic.
because you're
Let's hear
validating
this one.
Paul. If Paul knows what the decree is, according to what he says, and he sees that the apostles aren't walking in line with it, and he's opposing them to their faces and saying, well, this is the decree that we had agreed at Acts 15 at the first council, then that surely would be verifying Paul's apostleship.
Are you speaking to me or are you preaching?
That surely would be verifying Paul's apostleship,
that verifies James'
No.
right?
You're asking me the question.
If he's saying, let me speak freely.
Go ahead.
Let me speak freely.
Sorry,
Right? Come
He's
on,
not
man.
getting it.
Every
Go
time
ahead,
I'm
No,
flowing,
apologies.
try and cut me. You're making this argument. You're making this link, right? And by the way you've linked it together,
You don't like it.
no, by the way you've linked it together, you're actually verifying Paul.
Okay, can I respond to that point?
Go on.
Okay. There was a council. I'm not nervous, believe me. I think you're nervous. I'm
no,
fasting, my
come on, man.
Okay,
Go ahead.
He said it though. Why don't you correct him?
no,
Why don't you correct him when he says it?
They say that.
Yeah, nobody's correcting him.
No, you know it's
I'm correcting my
You're
own
right.
brother. Nobody's correcting
Okay,
your
listen.
Reverend.
So
Come on, man, let's
James
be fair.
has just made a decree. James is sending men, and then these men, like
So
Paul.
what's the decree that he made?
The decree is that they have to abide by the Noahide laws.
Yeah.
This is known as the
Based
Jamesian
on
decree.
Leviticus, yeah.
Okay. So there's 4 laws, and the main one of them I was mentioning is that, and you can't make your argument if you don't know what these laws are, by the way.
referring to
But
Acts
that's
15.
fine.
You're referring to
But
Acts
but
15.
the
No,
point
you're
is, that they should not
making
be
sure that you
having.
know what you're
Okay. So you're checking. No problem. That's right. And the first one is that they should not eat meat which is sacrificed to the idols. And that's clear that because Barnabas stood up, Cephas stood up, and all the other Jews stood up, then they must have been breaking that law. He come to the conclusion somehow on the other end that those guys are wrong. No, they're standing up as James the sent men.
Exactly.
I don't know
Not
how,
because
honestly, I didn't even
because of
understand
James.
See
the
how
argument you
see
meant.
how
That's
you
right,
inferred
that's
that
right.
at in this particular situation that these men were eating meat that was sacrificed to idols. It doesn't say that in the text. It doesn't say that in the text. What it does say in the text is that Peter wasn't walking in line with the truth of the gospel, and others were getting caught up in his hypocrisy. That even Barnabas did what he was doing. So Peter was the instigator of it. Like I said before, and you haven't dispelled this, you've attributed this situation to being about Acts 15, about the what was decreed in Acts 15. So then you're showing me, by your own admission, that Paul had knowledge that he was a part of that council, that he was considered an apostle to the Gentiles. Right? You're showing me that. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to hold them to the standards which they set at the council. So you've literally affirmed Paul. Thank you very much.
Okay.
No, thank you. You've literally affirmed Paul.
Have you finished? Have you finished?
Yeah.
This is Christian logic. This is literally Christian logic. I'm saying the opposite. He's interpreted it as in favor for him. It makes no sense. Okay, we spoke about Paul being an apostle. He did not answer that. The disciples gathered together to choose a replacement for Judas, and they did not choose Paul, they chose Matthias. No.
Paul was not there. Paul was not there. He was not a follower.
Don't interject. This is his slot now. Please don't interject.
Brother, he's already admitted it.
Don't
worry, bro.
It's okay.
Chapter 1.
No, this is Hamza's
Chapter
turn.
1.
Don't.
Yeah, I've admitted.
Please don't interject. This is Hamza's slot. Go on. Carry on.
So this is crazy interpretation. I'm saying that Paul, clearly, for those who don't understand, was not an apostle. He never met Jesus in the flesh. The disciples met Jesus in the flesh.
Sorry.
Paul, on the road to Damascus, when his name was Saul, was hunting the disciples. He said that he persecuted those who were on the way. The way does not mean a place. It's referring to the original disciples. The Nazarenes who rejected Paul, by the way, and this Epiphanes of Salamis and all the heresiologists mentioned that the companions of Jesus, the disciples, they believed them to be heretics. Why? Because they rejected Paul. And who came from the Nazarenes? The Ebionites. And the Ebionites continued with this belief that they rejected Paul as what? An apostate. He wants only evidence, only from the Bible. But I'm giving you a wide array. I'm giving you Acts, I'm giving you Galatians, I'm giving you scholars like, who's shaking? Who's shaking? Nice try. I'm giving you evidence like James Tabor, Robert Eisman, even Bart Ehrman. In all scholarly circles, they acknowledge there's a rift between Paul and James. But unfortunately, some people may not be aware. We're not computers. It's not necessary for us to be aware of this stuff, but you cannot debate a position you do not know about. It's known in scholarly circles. If you check the incident at Antioch, read anything. If you need to read Wikipedia, read it, Wikipedia. It's an argument, it's a disagreement, and you admitted this, and that's what the basis of this disagreement is. I don't believe Paul was an apostle. Clearly the apostles didn't believe that Paul was an apostle either. They did not elect him to be an apostle. There are 12 thrones, Jesus says. 12 thrones to judge the 12 tribes of Israel, not 13. Thank you.
You realize that Barnabas was an apostle as well?
I don't understand your point.
Yeah,
that was an
He
point.
said 13. So there'll be more apostles than 12.
No,
Anyway,
there's 12.
let me
12.
respond to what I'm saying. I'm going to conclude. I'm going to wrap this up.
Yeah.
We've been going for a long time.
Yeah, no problem.
Right?
No.
I think you've already made the concession anyway that Paul was an apostle.
No,
I'll be honest with you.
All right, no problem,
I
no
don't
problem.
feel like I need to do more. I really don't. Like, he's already made a concession. He's already admitted that Paul was at that council, and he was holding the apostles to the things that were set in that council. How can you do that if you're not part of the council? If he wasn't part of the council himself, doesn't make sense. So by his own admission, he's included Paul as being a part of the apostles. That it doesn't make sense, for him to say that Paul wasn't an apostle and to make those claims. So you have to catch the Muslims out on this. They're trying to pick and choose where they want to attack Christianity, and they end up contradicting themselves. And here's one example of where this guy contradicted himself. I've made my point clear. You've literally proven that Apostle Paul is an apostle. Thank you very much. There's nothing more for me to argue.
That's
We
right.
can move on to the next
Okay, so I'll make it clear because you didn't understand it the last 10, 20 times. Paul is not an apostle. Even if he was summoned to the council as he was, it means that he was just a participant. It does not mean that he is an apostle. The apostles rejected him. He still hasn't answered this. Matthias was chosen as the last apostle, not Paul. Again, he hasn't answered that. James had the council of Jerusalem. He didn't know that James was the leader, but James is the one who gave the decree. And then the ones who come from this, the Nazarenes or the followers of Jesus, are the Ebionites. Historical evidence. They reject Jesus. The Clement homilies, reject Paul. Clementines, the homilies, they reject that. The preaching of Peter also is a rejection of Paul. There are many documents that show this as rejection of Paul in early Christianity, but I think we finished. Thank you very much. If you think that I think that Paul is still an apostle, I don't know what to say, but it's nice.
Let's agree to disagree.
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah? Or you want to take a break? Or you want to do it now?
We've got the cameras here.
Oh,
If we take a break, then yeah.
oh, good. Go on, time it now. Time it now.
I'll time it. How long each?
2 minutes each.
What's the topic?
I don't know. He wants to debate it. Yeah, he wants to
What's
debate.
what's the topic?
I don't know. And you need, what's the topic you want to debate?
I have a list of topics I want to talk about today. I'm just picking which one.
Just one.
No, yeah. Let me see what I fancy today. I want to talk about child marriage in Islam.
Child marriage in Islam.
Yeah. Are you okay with discussing that? I'll be fair to you. I won't talk about something that you have little knowledge.
Yeah, sure, but we have to have our what do you call it? Our parameters. No blasphemy. That's all I'm asking. Yeah?
People who know me in this part know that I respect
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright, so what I'm going to do is, I need a bit more time for my opening.
How long?
Maybe 4 minutes.
And then would you allow him to respond 4 minutes, and then we go back
And
to
then
2
we go,
minutes?
and then we just go back and forth.
Okay, no problem.
That's
5 minutes each. Yeah, 5 minutes.
no. There's
Actually, can we stick to 3 minutes?
Let's do meet in the middle. Let's do 4.
No. The original was 2. The proposal is now 5.
Yeah, but
3 is in the middle.
okay.
Yeah, 3 is in the middle. Yeah.
Go on, I'll let you go on. Mine is simple, isn't it? My reply to
3 or
that
4
is simple.
minutes.
So it's not going to take me that long.
It's on you. The ball's in your court. 3 or 4
Yeah,
minutes.
stick a bit. My reply is not going to be that long.
So 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me know when to start. Yeah, no problem. And then we're gonna pray.
Including you. I know you.
Just let me know whenever you're ready.
Moving on to the next topic.
Do on the top. What topic do you know off the top of your head?
No, I want to make sure that the sources are there as
Is
well.
Allah a spirit?
Yeah, I want to make sure the sources
Is
are
God
there.
a spirit? And
Alright,
is
so-
Allah God? Is Allah the creator? How do you
Tell you
know?
when I'm ready, yeah?
Yeah.
How do you know? How do you know there's a creation?
This guy might interrupt.
How do you know there's a creation?
No, sorry. I won't engage.
Do you know this?
So I want to talk about
Please.
And God
in
gives
order for
that.
me to actually have this discussion with you. In order for me to actually have this discussion with you.
No, I'm
Yeah, in order for me
listening.
to have, what's your actual? Can I first clarify?
Okay. No problem.
Because if I'm going to debate this topic,
I'm gonna pause.
and he's in agreement with me,
Does Allah have a
then it's
body?
a waste of time.
Yeah, no, but we find that out.
Does
isn't
Allah have
it?
a body? That's
Oh,
what
So you want to pre-filter? Okay.
Because I'm quite
Let's
sure I would
look at
agree
that
with a
one.
lot of
Does
things
Allah have
you
a
say.
body?
But it's up to you. You want to change the topic now from anything you feel comfortable with.
Do you want me to start?
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? How do you know?
It's alright.
Yeah, unless you saw him.
I'll start again.
I'll do when I'm starting.
Does it say God has
Can you tell the guy to escape?
a woolly hair and a skin of gold? My skin is
All right, so what I want to talk about is child marriage in Islam. Does Islam teach child marriage? Absolutely yes. I'm going to focus first on the Quran, and then I'm going to go to the Hadith where I talk about Muhammad and his marriage to Aisha, who was a child at the time. So first, if you read in Surah 65 verse 4, it says, as for your women past the age of menstruation, in case you do not know, their waiting period is 3 months. Not menstruated as well. That's the key statement. As for those who are pregnant, their waiting period ends with delivery, and whoever is mindful of Allah, He will make their matters easy for them. Now this is a very controversial statement because it says here that those who have not menstruated as well, right, is referring to those who have not menstruated because of their young age, which means that the children would be having to observe an Iddah period. Now what is the Iddah? The Iddah is something that is prescribed to those who have been married, to females who have been married. It's a waiting period before divorce is made final. So if someone who is a female who has not yet reached the age of menstruation is required to observe an Iddah, then that must mean that they must have been a child who is married to a man. Another thing about the iddah period as well is that it's only applicable when the marriage has been consummated. That means then that if a child is in a marriage and is required to observe the iddah period, then that means the child has had sexual relations in that marriage. The purpose for the iddah is so that the female doesn't conceal pregnancy before moving to the next husband. So this is the practicalities of the iddah. So it's based on the woman or the female or the child in this case having sex with the husband. Now if we look at the tafsir of Al-Jalalain, tafsir of Ibn Kathir, tafsir of Ibn Abbas, how long do I have, sorry?
1 minute.
It says in the tafsir of Ibn Abbas, and for such of your women as despair of menstruation because of old age, if you doubt about their waiting period, their period of waiting shall be 3 months. Upon which another man asked, O Messenger of Allah, what about the waiting period of those who have no menstruation because they are too young? Along with those who have it not because of young age, their waiting period is 3 months. So even in the tafsir of Ibn Abbas, we get a hadith about Muhammad who confirms himself that those, when it says that those who have not yet menstruated, is referring to those who are too young to menstruate, meaning that men can be married to children in Islam and have sex with them. And this is exactly what we saw Prophet Muhammad do to Aisha, who was 6 when he married her, the legal contract, and 9 when he consummated it, and we'll talk about that more, and she was a child.
Okay, so the legal contract in Islam, the marriage legal contract is when you contract the marriage, it's like betrothal. And then the consummation is like the marriage. That's the equivalency of the modern day terms. It's similar in Judaism as well. They have the contract and then they have the consummation. Now, I'm not speaking to an atheist. I'm not speaking to a secularist. I'm speaking to a Christian. What I expect from Christians when arguing with the Muslims is that they use biblical sources. You will not find a minimum age or consent in the Bible. You won't. In fact, the Bible says, do as the Pharisees say. Do not do as they do. The Pharisees follow what? They follow the Torah. The Torah and the Mishnah and mention the age of a woman can get married is as young as 3 years old. In fact, in Nida it speaks about, the sexual intercourse of one who is under 3 years and 1 day. A father, you can say, shake your head, but it's there. A father can give away the daughter in marriage. Now you notice this polemic from Christians about child marriage, never existed before the 19th and the 20th century. Why is it that it never existed? Because they themselves were engaged in it. Augustine in his Confessions says that he fell in love with the girl who was the age, if I remember correct, 9 years old. Now someone might come around and say, what is the age of consent in Christianity? 12 years old. He'll probably defend 12 years old. So he said what he's had to say, so I don't know. Let's hear what he says the age of consent in Christianity based in the Bible is. He won't find it. Because he doesn't want to argue from the point of Christianity. He wants to argue from the point of secularism. But I'm not speaking to atheists. How much time?
50
so I want him, Timothy, to explain his point of view as a Christian. Explain also how Rebecca married Isaac at the age of 3 years old in the Old Testament. Explain to me what the age of Mary was, where God, you say, incarnated in the womb of a girl who is said to be 12 years old when she left the care of Zechariah. Because she was at that point told to leave the temple. And it was at that point that she got pregnant. So how old are girls when they're not allowed to be at the temple? And that's when Jesus, apparently, according to you, who is God, entered into the womb of Mary. And she was already betrothed to Joseph. So you need to, as a Christian, argue from Christianity, not secularism.
Time up.
Notice that he didn't refute any of the points that I made. So I'm assuming that he agrees with everything that I said about child marriage in Islam. I'm assuming that because he never said anything about it, he never said anything against it. All he said is, what about this? What about that? And he's factually wrong, right? So if you want to talk about the Bible, if you want to talk about the age of marriage in the Bible or child marriage in the Bible, then we can have that in a separate debate. I'll offer you that in a separate debate. What I want to know is this: does Islam teach child marriage? Now, since I've got more time, I'll go through more hadiths, or I'll go through the hadiths. In Sahih Muslim, hadith number 1422a, it
wasn't the open in 3 minutes. The open was 3 minutes.
When she married Muhammad, that's a legal contract, and that she was 9 when she was admitted to his home. Within the same hadith, it says that she was playing on swings with her playmates. In another hadith, Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith number 5133, it says that Aisha was 6 when she married Muhammad, the legal contract, and she was 9 years old when he consummated the marriage with her. Now, and that's me putting it nicely. 9 years old, and it says that she remained with him until his death, which was a further 9 years, meaning that she was 18 when she died. When Muhammad died, sorry. In Sunan an-Nasai, hadith number 3378, if I'm not mistaken, it says that Aisha was 6 when she married Muhammad, the legal contract, and that she was 9 when he consummated the marriage, and she used to play with the dolls. So at those ages, she used to play with the dolls. In hadith number, in Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith number 6130, it says that Aisha used to play with the dolls in the presence of Muhammad, and then her girlfriends would run away or leave the room whenever he would come in. And then it goes on to say that the playing of the dolls was permissible for Aisha because she had not yet reached the age of puberty, meaning that it was allowed for girls to play with those who had not reached puberty. So what do we know about Aisha at the age of 9? That she had sex with Muhammad, she was playing on swings, and she was playing on dolls. She had not yet reached the age of puberty. Therefore, the Islamic prophet Muhammad, who they claim is the greatest man ever, was someone who was known to have sex with a child. And this person, right, who he had sex with, Aisha, she never bore any of his children. And that makes sense, because when you have sex with a pubescent child, you damage their internals.
10 seconds.
So I want him to answer me about what I said in the Quran about child marriage and about Aisha. Confirm your position. Stop running to my Bible. We can talk about it after.
Okay, now notice I said this in the beginning. I'm not arguing with the secularist. I'm not arguing with the atheist. He has to, as a Christian, show me the standard that he's going to. Notice that he tried to squeeze the debate and say, no, you must only speak about this topic. No, the topic you said was about child marriage. So we're going to speak about, from your point, this topic you chose, as well as my point. Notice I told you that Jesus says, follow what the Pharisees say and not what they do. And what do the Pharisees say? In the book of Nida, in the Torah, it says that the child who has had sex at the age of 3 years old and 1 day, he didn't engage with that. According to their tradition, under their law, a child can get married at the age of 12. At 12, that's the Justinian laws. He doesn't know about this because he's a secularist now. Yeah? At the age of 12 years old, is there a difference between 9 and 12? Would you say 12 is okay? You can answer that in your own time. But by his own definition, he would be in problem. But he doesn't want to hold his own definition. He believes Jesus, the Almighty, God, according to him, came in the womb of Mary, who was how old when she was pregnant with him? 12 years old. He's got a problem. Why is God impregnating a woman at the age of 12 years old? Why is he coming through her belly and through her canals? And that's me not being explicit. Was she not playing with dolls at 12 years old? Huh? So what about Augustine, one of the church fathers? What about Augustine? He doesn't want to answer anything. He said he fell in love in his confessions. He's got a book called The Confessions. He fell in love with a girl who was young. And you would call him a what? But you can't, because these are the traditions in Christianity. I mentioned that this argument was never charged by Christians before the 19th and the 20th century. Why? Because it was accepted in every single society that when a girl reaches puberty, this was the age of marriage. When Mary was pregnant, they say, with Jesus, God Almighty, that she was also betrothed to Joseph. How? If Christianity doesn't allow it, why is God coming to, the belly of a woman who's already betrothed? Show me from the Bible. You are not a secularist. You are not an atheist. I am a Muslim. I tell you, throughout history, every culture, every tribe, every single year, people have accepted marriage at the age of puberty.
10 seconds.
No,
give up?
You give him the time.
I'll give him the time he needs.
Okay.
Notice that he hasn't refuted me on any of the points that I've made. This is about child marriage in Islam. I'm not talking about the Bible. If he wants to have that discussion, we can have that discussion after. I'd be more than happy to talk about it. I've actually been hoping to talk about it with somebody. So please, let's have a discussion after about this particular topic, if you're so confident about it. I want you, in your next time when you speak, to address my issues, the points that I raised in Surah 65 verse 4, about the hadith, the authentic hadith in the collection of Muslim, Bukhari, Sunnah and Nasai, about Aisha and her age and her immaturity. This is a serious issue. It's even happening in Islamic countries today. Child marriage is happening. There are many countries, many Islamic countries, for example Yemen, which doesn't have a legal minimum age requirement for marriage. It's happening today, guys. And the way these Muslims are trying to get out of it is by saying, oh, what about? And even when they say what about, it's not even correct. I can't wait to go into the Bible with him and show him why he is wrong, completely wrong. But I want him to first deal with this, because there are people who don't know this in Islam. They've been misled. If you're proud of your religion, declare it openly. If there's child marriage or not, declare it openly. Don't be afraid. Let the people know you're here to do dawah, right? Speak the truth. Speak the truth and let people know.
There's no argument,
bro. My argument is this. I've made my claims. You haven't made any defense to any of them, so I must assume that they are true. I must assume that they are correct. If anyone made a claim to say that the Bible teaches child marriage, I'll be the first one to defend against that. He's not defending anything. He's doing what about this, what about that. I've got a minute left. Actually, let me actually read some material in this time. I'll go back, I'll remind him of what the early scholars said.
Read in Arabic.
No. Yeah. You can't even speak Arabic anyway. You can't even speak Arabic anyway, man. I read the Tafsir of Al-Jalalayn. I've got 50 seconds. So it's referring to Surah 65 verse 4. So for those who say that child marriage is not taught in the Quran, it's also taught there. Here's the Tafsir. And as for those of your women who who no longer expect to menstruate, if you have any doubts about their waiting period, their prescribed waiting period shall be 3 months. And also for those who have not yet menstruated because of their young age. That's the reason. Their period shall be 3 months. Why is a child who has not menstruated required to observe an Iddah in the first place? Answer these questions.
You want to give up your time? Yeah. Okay. Hamza?
Oh, that's great. Again, atheism and secularism, and they're from. No, don't. You see? No. See. You see. This is what you're not playing. No. This is what the Christians do. All of the Christians, they need the defense. Every single one of the Christians, they need defense. Okay?
Okay, I'm going to start.
Is that what we're doing? Are we jeering and booing? Is that what we're doing? Are we doing respectful? Are we doing? No.
The crowd can do what they want.
The crowd is Christians. No. The crowd is Christians and they support you.
He's going to offer you another
Look, stop. Okay, he's going to offer me another one.
He's going to offer you a debate. No. Talk about the Bible. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Yeah? I'm going to start now. Bismillah.
Okay, again, as I said, I'm not speaking to a Christian. He throws the Bible under the bus. He throws Christianity under the bus. He throws Jesus under the bus. He dealt with nothing that was mentioned. And the reason is because he may as well be cosplaying as a Christian when he's an atheist. Now, they're saying is whataboutism. We know what the topic of the debate was. Now he wants to run. He says, I can't wait to talk about this topic. Wait for what? The time is now. Talk about the topic. Do it. I mentioned numerous lines of argument. You didn't touch on a single one of them. In regards to the Prophet Muhammad's marriage, this was a marriage which took place when she was 9 years old. I know this. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says in the hadith that women reach the age, once they reach the age of 9, they were classed as women.
Yes.
There was no further education, there was no university, there was no workspace for women. You didn't know that. Why is it that Christians never launched this argument between the 20th and the 19th century? I challenge you to find one Christian that made this argument. Why? Because they were doing it. Your grandfathers were doing it. Your great-great-grandfathers were doing it. But will you call them whatever these names? No, you wouldn't. Oh, of course not, you wouldn't. And that means you're the product of that. You know what I mean? But anyway, sure. So again, I can only repeat the arguments. He never addressed a single one of them. I agree with him. I don't need to debate him. He's given the evidences that the Prophet Muhammad was married at the age of 9, Aisha, where the age that she said that they were women. You don't understand that? But you have to now agree when Jesus said, follow the Pharisees. And when the Pharisees say in the Torah that women at the age of 3 and 1 years old can have sex. You have to answer how Jesus came in the womb of a woman at the age of 12. You have to give me the example in the Justinian Code that women can get married at the age of 12. But you won't do it. You know why you won't do it? Because I'm not speaking to a Christian. I'm speaking to an atheist who is cosplaying as a Christian. Now, as for me and my traditions and Muslims, we know this is what happened. We know this is what happened in Islam. We know this is what happened in Judaism. And we know this happened in your religion. You're not supposed to interrupt me. And you won't admit it. You won't deny it. You won't affirm it. You will run away from it. You will throw Christianity, Jesus, and the Bible under the bus. And we're waiting for an actual reply. And you can have the rest of the time. But you haven't answered anything. I've answered all your points. I've affirmed what you said. What argument is that?
10 seconds.
You have no argument.
Okay, give up your time. All right, let's start again.
I think we can do it back and forth now.
Back and forth? Nah, let's stick to 3 minutes.
No, we stick to 3 minutes.
I need to answer.
No.
Then-
We stick to 3 minutes. You can't make it up.
you can't do
You can't make it up. Okay, now is there another? Oh, how many
hold on,
rounds?
I'll start
One
again.
second. You get the time. How many rounds are we doing until we get my topic?
Well, your topic's going to be about child marriage. And
No, don't tell me what my
No, that's
topic
what
is.
it's-
See, no.
it's gonna be that.
Look, you're doing it again.
I'll
Why are
tell
you
you why.
running? Why are
I'll
you
tell you why.
running?
You know, that's
No,
why.
you
I'll tell you
chose the
why.
first one,
Let's
and now you're
continue,
choosing the
let's
second
continue.
one.
Let's continue.
Now you choose the first. No,
No,
I will
let
choose
me-
my.
let me-
No,
Timothy,
no.
it's fair.
I
It's
will,
fair.
Timothy,
No,
choose
no,
my
you
topic.
chosen
You
two-
heard this, yeah?
you've chosen
Don't
two
run,
topics.
don't run.
Let me continue.
Why are you running?
Let me continue,
The
man.
time hasn't started.
Okay, wait, I haven't started.
We're
Wait,
trying to
one second,
establish
one
now,
second.
yeah, how many rounds do
One
you
second.
want?
Hamza, let me speak. All right.
How many rounds does it do?
How many rounds?
Because he's just doing a circle at this
No,
point.
both of you have to agree. How many rounds?
Yeah, how many? That's what I'm asking you, but he's saying
gonna-
you just won't answer. No, I don't need, unless you engage, I don't need that much. I just need you to conclude
Let me.
or engage with what I said.
We can just go back and forth at this point,
About what if we're not engaging?
bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's go back and forth.
Yeah, but we're not
There's
going to
things that
do.
you said.
We're not going to do cross-examination.
There's things that you
You're going to have.
You're trying to make up the
It's your
topic.
opportunity.
You're making up the everything,
Right,
but there's
start my
no
time,
negotiation.
start my time.
Okay, how many rounds?
more
How many?
rounds.
No, I'm not. I don't
Two-
need 2 more
when we
rounds.
say two
If
more
you
rounds,
feel
what
you
do
want
you
to
mean?
talk to your camera, you can do that.
I'm gonna say 2 more rounds.
You could do that.
2 more rounds, meaning that 2 slots and 2 slots.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I
Okay,
don't. Unless he engages, there's literally a
Okay,
box.
he doesn't agree, so we need to meet in the middle.
So we get down. We get down to one point.
So let's end
Otherwise,
it here.
it's
Let's end it here. If you're both you can't
Have a
agree on
back and
something,
forth,
then let's end it
Hamza.
here.
Let's just have a quick back and forth, man.
How about one vote, then a back and
Bro,
forth?
let me just have a quick back and forth then.
No, because you're running from the topic.
not-
Like you are. You are.
I'm
no,
making
it's
the
not about
argument,
that. It's not about. It's not about
Bro,
that.
How can you
It's
say?
okay.
No,
Okay,
you just had your.
calm down,
I'm trying to be
You
fair.
just had your.
No,
You just had your 3 minutes.
I'm trying to be fair here, right?
Yeah.
Both of you need to agree.
Who started? You
I
started.
disagree,
You started, right?
I'm making the argument.
You start, look, engage with me, calm down.
Yes,
calm
but
down.
it's ridiculous.
You start, calm down, control emotions. You started the argument.
It's a serious topic.
You started
This is
the
why
topic.
child marriage in Islam.
I care about
here we go.
Who
are being married
performative. Very performative. And that's why your boys are laughing. That's why your boys are laughing.
Let's go.
Calm down.
Let's pray now.
There are women
You
who are
can't
being
even.
mistreated in
Oh,
Islam.
here we go. So you don't engage with the debate, and now you want to be emotional.
Let me.
That's so fake,
We're going to
performative.
end here because you two are not going to agree.
No, do you want to? No, he's running from our topic.
I will debate him on the
No, you're running from my topic.
Okay.
No, but you haven't. You didn't answer a single question. You didn't answer a single question.
I'll do it now.
No, but you were meant to do that. You were meant to do that. Okay, but
I'll give you that.
Now, please stop performative. Speak to me. Speak to me.
Hamza,
Stop
seriously.
performing.
This is a very serious issue.
Okay.
Rehan,
But if it's serious,
Rehan,
Timothy,
listen
speak to me.
One second. Rehan, listen to me, yeah?
You have to engage with the points being made. No, he hasn't. I made multiple points. I told him all of his argument, yeah, I agree with. This is a hadith of Quran. So my point was clear. My point. But he hasn't admitted anything. He's not an atheist. He hasn't answered a single. Now I want to say, if he's not going to address the points, which is fine, it's up to him. Then no, it was the same topic. He changed it to a separate topic. So if he wants, he could do the next debate. He could do the next debate, which is my topic.
If we examine what he said in the
I'll
last...
give him the last 3 minutes, and then we do my topic.
He can adjust his camera and
If we examine what he said...
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay, so you adjust your cameras, I'll adjust my cameras. And then we do, see, even your guys saying it.
I want to talk to you about child marriage in the Bible.
You just had the chance to.
No, it's a different topic, brother.
No, it wasn't. I brought all of those points. He didn't answer.
He said he'll answer now in the new debate.
I mentioned about 2-3 times, He's not even trying to negotiate. He's just going,
It sounds like he's saying.
He's not trying to engage. He's not engaged. Why isn't he?
On child marriage in the Bible.
Look, what's your name again? John. Do you remember? Look. He made this argument. I agreed with it. That's his problem. That's how he framed the argument. Now he can't get upset. He lost. I made the points. I brought John. I brought up my points. He didn't deal with one. Not even saying that he's not atheist. He didn't deal with one.
We need to pray.
Now there's my point, If a negotiation is like you say something, I say something, he's just going no.
Let him do
But that's not fair.
Let him do the last.
And then we come back and we speak about my point, Okay, let me just finish with our cameras, Okay, where's our cameras? This is our cameras,
Off camera.
No, this is our cameras,
I don't think that's our camera. That's soccer.
Okay, so notice, he didn't answer a single question, I made mention of historicity in the Bible, in the Torah, and not once did he mention anything. He argued from the point of an atheist and a secularist. He did not argue from the point of a Christian. In fact, he threw Christianity and he threw the Bible under the bus. Now, if these arguments were launched by an atheist and a secularist, I would fully understand. But the reality is, for the best part of history, people have always married young. We live in different times, I understand. And I agree with him to the many points that he made. All of the hadiths, you notice, I agreed. He made his argument. Now, when it came to me making my argument, he didn't answer or engage into a single point. Now, is there anything that he had said that I did not answer? No. The Justinian laws of the age of marriage in Christianity being 12 years old did not answer. Jesus said, follow the Pharisees. The Pharisees followed the Torah. The Torah says to marry at a young age. It says ketuna, meaning that they can marry from the age of 3. They can be betrothed by the fathers and they can have sex at the age of 12. Again, he didn't answer. Jesus entered into the womb of Mary when she was 12 years old. Why is Jesus entering the womb of Mary when she is 12 years old? He didn't answer this. we ask the next one. Isaac's marriage to Rebecca. Rebecca again was 3 years old. He said he wants to speak about it, but he didn't answer a single question. He didn't answer. Rebecca was 3 years old. Again, he didn't marry. Again, if you're debating as a Christian, you need to debate from the point of the Bible, Christianity, or Christ. He wants to debate as an atheist. As Muslims, we affirm what the Quran says, we affirm what the history says, we affirm what the Hadith says. Throughout history, these marriages took place. 300 years ago, the age of death or the mortality rate was at the age of 30. Christians married from a young age in order that they can have kids with people before they died. But unfortunately, this guy doesn't know. Timothy failed in answering a single question, and that's why it's a failed discussion. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Jazakallah khair.
Let's pray now, inshallah.
Now he's going to come back.